What's going on, everybody? Welcome to the Behind the Glass Sports Podcast. We thank you guys for tuning in. Happy Saturday. Hopefully you guys are having a great day, as we are. You actually surprised me this morning, I'm not going to lie. When I texted you, like, are you ready? I was definitely expecting you not to respond for like a half hour. I was like, oh, he's definitely not ready. And then you're like, ready. And I was like, oh, I'm not ready. So the one day I account for like, he's definitely going to be late. So I have some time to just kind of like lay in bed and stuff my face. You're like hopping on, ready when you are. And that's usually me. That's usually me that does that. So you beat me to that today.
Yeah, I figured instead of doing like, hey, I'll be on in 5 minutes or 10 minutes, I was like, yeah, I'll just say I'm on.
Yeah. I was definitely not expecting that. Now I have to prepare for that. I have to go back to the film room, study, see what corrections I have to make, and I'll be ready next week. That's all I have to say about that. You won't get me next week. But knowing you, next week I'll be on at 10, and then you're going to take 45 minutes.
Yeah.
So that's how that's going to go. We got a lot to get to today, mainly just Nuggets related, unless there's something that comes up that's Broncos related that you can think of, because I can't really think of anything. No, nothing really.
Other than Mac Jones is probably going 3, and I don't know why. That seems
He's
to be the
what
consensus.
you think Zach Wilson is. I mean, strong arm, leader, winner.
You believe that. Mm-hmm.
Does it at the biggest levels, not against Division II teams like Zach Wilson. Yeah, he's what you want in a quarterback.
Also has, 2 of the top 3 receivers in the draft class.
Yeah. I don't know why anyone would listen. I posted because like Mac Jones doesn't have like the body of like a Greek statue, right?
No.
And I just don't get that to me. Like, how can you be at Alabama and not take advantage of any of the facilities that they have there? Like, I'm not saying he has to go out there and be shredded and ripped and 2% body fat, but like when you see his picture after the national championship game, and he looks like a before and after of Jokic, mainly before photo, and he looks like he just drinks grape soda, eats Cheez-Its on his weekends and his days off. I'm like, that to me is a mini red flag. Like, this guy isn't taking it as seriously right now.
Maybe he's the Nikola Jokic of the NFL now.
I mean, maybe. Well, first off, don't you ever disrespect Nikola Jokic like that, okay? So, excuse me, future Hall of Famer Nikola Jokic. That's how I will address him from now on. It's not just Nikola Jokic anymore. It's future Hall of Famer Nikola Jokic. So how dare you, first and foremost. I am offended. But no, I'm just like, I just don't get it. I just don't. And then a lot of people are like showing me the screenshot of Tom Brady, and I'm like, yeah, I get that. But how does Tom Brady look today? How much millions of dollars does he put into his body? Like, we see that that's a thing now. Like, athletes are investing into their bodies.
And it's not like back then in 1998 that Michigan had, all these crazy facilities and, 20, it's 20 years later. There's ways where, I get it. I also don't really care how the quarterback looks. Just, I would like for him to have a stronger arm than slightly above average, and I would like for him to, be able to run 4.6, not like a 4, or at least a 4.5 maybe. But I think he ran like a 4.7, 4.8, 4.9. I don't know. It was up there. So it's just he's not very mobile, and which is kind of ironic because Kyle Shanahan. Everyone says he fits in Kyle Shanahan's system. Don't you need a quarterback that can actually, like, really move in that system? I don't know. It doesn't make sense. When they first traded up, I thought that was Trey Lance. I thought they would keep Garoppolo for the year, have Trey Lance just, sit and wait and learn. And I thought that was going to be Trey Lance, but apparently not.
Yeah, you're definitely better than me. If you're my quarterback, I am fat shaming you. So,
but hey, Justin Fields, for whatever reason, is now the 5th quarterback on a lot of people's list.
It's really weird.
It's
really weird that his stock is drafting like that.
Like, he is right there. He is right there with Zach Wilson, like, and Trevor Lawrence. Like, it should be those 3 first off the board, and it shouldn't even be a discussion. If you wanted to say, hey, I like Justin Fields more than Zach Wilson, okay, yeah, I could see that. There's concerns about Justin Fields, but the way he throws is a concern. Seriously, like I guess it's a slightly longer release. The ball actually, Dan Orlovsky pointed this out. When he goes back to throw, the ball actually ends up below his elbow. So it's almost like a baseball pitch windup, right? Not as bad as like Tim Tebow, but it goes down.
Yeah.
It goes down a little bit. But that's, I mean, come on. Even after he said it was like that's not really that big of a deal because the ball still gets out quick. So if that's your concern, or the Northwestern game is your concern, like he threw 3 picks in that game or 2, but a couple of them were great plays by the defense. So it's like, one of them was a one-handed falling back catch by the DB that was just incredible. Like, those were also 2 of the top 5 defenses in the nation. Two of the top 4, 1 and 4, I think. So it makes no sense. It makes no sense that he's lower than Trey Lance and he's lower than Mac Jones.
Yeah, I don't get it.
But hey, if the Broncos can get him,
stock is drafting. God, I can't talk today.
If the Broncos can get him, with him being the 5th quarterback taken, that's an absolute steal.
Well, we talked about it. This is the best time for the Broncos to get a quarterback.
They're gonna have to trade up though.
All the talent, sure, but
maybe not up to 4. But if Justin Fields starts dropping, well, New England's at 15. They can be aggressive. They can jump from 15 to 7. They can leapfrog Denver, right?
But it's going to take so much more, though, for them to give up.
Well, sure. But I think if you're desperate enough, I mean, Kansas City did it. They went from like 20-something to, whatever. They went up and got Patrick Mahomes. So I don't think it's not impossible, because right now it goes 1 through 3, and then if Atlanta does take a quarterback at 4, then the next team to take a quarterback would be Denver to get that last guy. So then you would have to jump Denver and try and get, pick 6, pick 7, pick 8, one of those. I don't think Miami's moving at 6. I don't think Cincinnati's moving at 5. So you'd probably have to trade with Detroit, but I don't know if Detroit would want to move that far. So I guess it depends. But if you're Denver, you're probably going to have to move up and just swap with Detroit. It won't take that much. Not really. Not really. If you trade up with Detroit, you pretty much make sure that, okay, we're going to get him, whichever one it is.
They might have a good chance to get one of them, either Trey Lance or Justin Fields. So
the tricky thing with Trey Lance is that you can't really start him right away. So do you go out and trade for Bridgewater?
I disagree. I think if you draft a quarterback that high, you start him.
Yeah, but Trey Lance hasn't played in over a year, so
sure.
It's tough.
That's what the preseason for.
That one's tough. I honestly, if Trey Lance is the 5th guy, I don't think they take Trey Lance.
I guess we'll find out, but I'm of the mindset like you just start the guy. What's the point of waiting?
If it's Justin Fields, yeah, I mean, I agree with you. If it's any of the other 4, but Trey Lance, I think is just that one exception. Like maybe he should sit at least for half. Like I think you should have a buffer with Trey Lance. That's why I think Atlanta's perfect, because now you can start Matt Ryan and you can just let him learn, or San Fran. You can let him sit behind Garoppolo and just let him learn. Those are the 2 best places for him.
If you're in one of those rare situations where you have an established quarterback and you're still a playoff team, like Atlanta's not a playoff team, but like Alex Smith with the Chiefs, or you're in that situation where you still have that guy and you're still technically a playoff team, okay, then I can get it. If you're the Broncos and the only guy that's ahead of him is Drew Lock, start him. Especially if you trade up for the guy and you're telling me he's not starting day 1. What's the point? I mean, I get he's not played a game in however long, but that's what we have preseason for. You get him ready. I'd rather go through the growing pains now, early, then sit him because there's only so much you can learn on the bench. Like, yes, you can grow and learn things on the bench, watching and all that stuff, but at the end of the day, practical experience is what does it. When we got into radio, we weren't harkening back to what we read in a textbook. It was actually going through
I
the
didn't read the
fire
textbook.
and messing. Well, yes, I know you didn't read. You don't know how to read. There's breaking news. Brandon doesn't know how to read. I actually have to read the tweets for him. No, but yeah, like we don't harken back to what we read in textbooks. You go back to, oh, yeah, I remember that one time when I pressed the wrong button on the board, or I said sex on the microphone when I didn't mean to. I'm not going to do that again. That's what you look back to. All right? That's what you look back to. So anyways, if you draft a quarterback that high, you play the guy, especially if it's just Drew Lock ahead of him. That's all I'm saying. All right.
Yeah, I look back and I said Clippers, I said Kawhi and Leonard.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yours was the worst.
Clippers. Yeah, we get it. Thanks. But yeah, the Broncos are gonna have a chance. Hopefully, they do come away with a quarterback. I wouldn't be mad if they came away with like that Penei Sewell guy because his stock is starting to drop a little bit due to like character concerns, which I don't know. Like, I just don't know how much, to overuse it, stock I can put into some of these reports these days, because it's like you spend all this time dissecting these guys that it's almost like these guys find things to pick apart from these people, and then how do you know what is lying? Is it teams putting certain things out about players so they can get them to drop a little bit?
I would say though the Micah Parsons ones is probably the most concerning. That one's actually like, okay.
Didn't he just get like in a fight with his teammate in the locker room or something like that?
I think he pulled a knife on someone.
It's a bit aggressive. it's a bit aggressive, yeah.
So I think that's and people aren't sure if he loves the game and he's playing because it's kind of like that Anthony Edwards type of thing too. But then again, Anthony Edwards is, I think he became like the first rookie in so many years to put up 25 plus in 15 straight games or something like that. So, I mean, he's still really good. So, yeah, but also so many Broncos fans want Micah Parsons, but he's not an inside linebacker. He's an outside linebacker. So you don't need him. Like, you literally do not need him.
Well, yet you don't know if Von's going to be here next year.
Sure, but they have guys behind him that you got Malik Reed. So who by the way matched what Von did last year. So I don't. You don't look. If you really don't believe in Bradley Chubb, then sure, I guess. But to me, it's just wasting a pick. It's like when they picked Bradley Chubb when you had Shaq Barrett and Von Miller. What are you doing? What are you doing? You literally picked. It did not help them. It has not helped them.
You got a Super Bowl, so.
Well, but that was, did they draft? No, that was Bradley Chubb. But they drafted Bradley Chubb after.
Well, you said Shaq Barrett.
Well, what I'm saying though is you drafted Bradley Chubb when you had Shaq Barrett.
Oh yes, okay. I thought you were talking about when you drafted Shaq Barrett when you had Von and DeMarcus.
Right. Well, yeah, but Shaq Barrett was what, pick 6?
Or was he undrafted? Was Shaq undrafted?
My point is, he wasn't a top 5 pick. So that's like it's just wasting a pick. Like it doesn't really do anything for you. He was pick. Let's see. I believe he did get drafted. Maybe he
was he like a 5th rounder?
It was a late rounder.
I thought he was no, he was undrafted. I think he was undrafted.
Man, I cannot find it anywhere, so maybe he was undrafted.
I'm pretty sure he was undrafted.
Yeah, he went undrafted.
Undrafted.
I mean, you don't use a top 10 pick on a guy that you have 2 really good players already, and I could argue 3 with Malik Reed. So you need an inside linebacker. Well, Micah Parsons, yeah, could you move him to the inside? Sure, I guess. But if you think he's gonna be a Devin White for you, that's just not who he's gonna be. There's
That's
other
what's funny.
there's other inside linebackers in the draft that you can go get, like a Dylan Moses, or there's a couple. I can't remember their names, but there's a couple other guys that you can get in the second, third rounds.
Well, and they've had chances the past 2 drafts to get really good inside linebackers.
But those were
Devin
inside
White,
linebackers.
Devin Bush.
Those were classic middle linebackers.
Yeah. Right. And that's what they've needed for quite some time.
Micah Parsons,
do it.
Micah Parsons is an insane athletic freak. So could you move him inside? Sure. But is he a good cover guy? Can he become a good cover guy? Maybe eventually, yeah. Look, if they sit at 9 and J.C. Horn and Patrick Surtain are both off the board somehow, then okay, maybe. But if they're both off the board, you probably have Penei Sewell on the board still, or Slater. So then it's like, okay, well, what are you doing? And by the way, like, if Jamar Chase or Kyle Pitts is there, I don't care if they're a receiver, tight end. I'm taking those guys. So, and you could argue, well, you just said, why would you take a player in the top 10 that you're already good at? Well, sure, I get that, but you could also run 2 tight ends with Noah Fant Pitts, or you could put Jamar Chase as your third receiver.
I don't think Pitts would even be there, but
no.
What about Alberto? You already down on Alberto?
Well, look, I like Alberto, but Kyle Pitts is going to be a Hall of Famer.
Okay, I don't know about that. Let's not go that far.
As far as guarantees, he's as close as it gets in any draft. Like Trevor Lawrence is as close as it gets.
You're already calling him a Hall of Famer?
He can be, yeah. As long as he stays healthy, he will be.
Yeah.
He's a 6'6" wide receiver / tight end.
You want a futures bet on that? You want a crumble futures bet on that?
Well, I don't know. We can't predict being healthy or not. You can't do that.
No, you said he was a Hall of Famer.
As long as he stays healthy, yes.
No health.
If he goes to Atlanta, or if he goes to Cincinnati and plays with Joe Burrow, yeah, he's gonna do what Kittle's doing. He's gonna do what probably more, because you can put him on the outside. You can use him as a wide receiver.
Better than the best all-pro cornerbacks in the NFL. Let me tell you.
All I said, if he stays
directions, those hips swivel the other direction so fast, you would be a top 5 cornerback.
If Trevor Lawrence is healthy throughout his career, he's probably going to make the Hall of Fame.
How can you say that, though?
Because he's that talented. If Andrew Luck would have stayed healthy, do you think he's a Hall of Famer?
Yes.
There you go.
Well, but he played. We have the substance to back it up.
Sure, but before that draft, he was, the second coming of John Elway. Trevor Lawrence is the third, apparently. Like, he's as close to a guarantee before the draft as you can get. Is Trevor Lawrence and Kyle Pitts. Those are the only 2 guys in this draft. I would throw Zach Wilson in there, but there's other concerns with Zach Wilson that I get.
Mm-hmm.
And he's going to the Jets, so that's also a big deal.
Yeah. Good luck. We'll see. We got, 15 days? Or when's the draft? 18 days? 28th?
Like that.
Late April? It's coming up quick. It's coming up on us really quickly. And we'll see if the Broncos will be aggressive, if they'll go all Tim Connolly and shoot for the stars. Speaking of Tim Connolly, his star acquisition of JaVale McGee, undefeated since getting him. The impact has been insane.
Actually, his impact has been great.
Right. Gary Clark, the legend, until he was waived. I mean, undefeated streak. No, we all know it's because of Aaron Gordon. The Nuggets did everything they could the past, there's a couple games in there to lose the games. But they ended up coming away with another one. What is that? 7, 8 in a row? I think it's an 8-game win streak now, which is now the longest in the NBA. It's the longest win streak of Hall of Famer Nikola Jokic's Nuggets career. I'm trying to think. I think the last time the Nuggets had an 8-game win streak, JaVale McGee was on that team as well. So this team is rolling right now.
And that was a 15 or 13, 15?
13. That was the year that Steph became Steph.
Well, right, so. But no, that was a 13-game winning streak or a 15-game winning streak?
15.
15?
They routed off 15 games. Yeah. and then you got bounced in the first round because Steph suddenly could shoot like nobody's business.
Yeah, well, Gallo was out, Ty was hurt, Faried was hurt.
I don't even think they still beat that team.
No, probably not.
Even with those guys, to be honest with you. I'm telling you, the moment I saw Steph Curry shoot it and turn around and run the other direction, I was like, we have no chance. He just did that. And I've never seen that done before, and I want to cry. And I did cry. Speaking of that, did you watch any of Malone's press conference last night?
No.
Oh my gosh. He had a quote in there, which I completely agree with. They asked him like about, how worried is he, or does he worry much about this team?
Oh, yeah, I saw you tweet about it.
It was something to the fact of like, yeah, of course I worry. I sleep like a baby for 2 hours and then I wake up and cry. And I'm like, that's me. Like we're the same person. It's a Spider-Man meme. That's what I do too. And he lists off all the things he worries about with this team. And I'm like, man, we're like wavelengths. You lose years off your life. I lose years off my life too watching this team. But no, it was hilarious. And they're playing really good right now, but they try really hard to give games away. Like they could be blowing teams out, and that's still a concern for me, is their ability to keep leads. But now they're kind of at a point where it's like they're stupid talented to where they're like, all right, bring in the Marriott 5. I'm not going to call them the Hampton 5. It's not the Golden State lineup. Maybe it is. No, it's not. Marriott
Maybe
5.
in a couple years.
The Ritz-Carlton. What's better, the Hampton or Ritz-Carlton? Which one's better? Whichever one's the lesser. We're that now. Still really good. 4.8 stars. Not 5 quite exactly, but 4.8. And they come in and just obliterate teams.
Yeah, I think Jokic is kind of taking them down to that 4.8, huh?
No comment. But last night,
That's the weak point.
Did you watch any of that game last night?
Yeah. I watched. I watched a little bit of the first half, watched some of the third quarter, and then they were up by like 20. Ate dinner, turned it on. They were up by 3 with 16 seconds to go. I was like, what?
Well, that was me.
Hello?
I was like, I was super tired after work last night, and I was like, the game was just about to start, and I was like, you know what, San Antonio, they can beat them. I'm gonna take a nap. Woke up with like 7 minutes in the fourth, and they were up like 11, and I was like, okay, this is good. My eyes are kind of still like, struggling to keep open. Next thing I know, they're up 3, and I'm like, what? What? How? And freaking Derek White, UCCS great Derek White out here hitting threes. Keldon, which one is it? Keldon Johnson playing really well as well. I saw someone tweet last night, when is Patty Mills just gonna like go away? Like, why is he still a thing? Why does he continue to torment me? Go home, Patty Mills. Retire.
He's 32.
Go play in New Zealand. Like, golly, he's still really good. For his role, I should say. But they ended up coming away with a win last night anyways. Third game without Jamal Murray, who sat out with knee soreness. I don't know if it's a huge issue with Jamal. I guess he hurt it in that Magic game. But they said that he worked out yesterday without the knee brace, just had a sleeve on. So I guess that's a good sign. I guess they're just kind of saving him for the stretch run.
If it was the playoffs, he'd play.
Right. But they come away with another win. I don't know. I'm looking at this team, and they're getting talked about now, but it's still they still feel kind of under the radar.
Mm-hmm.
That it's still Utah, which rightfully so. They have the best record in the NBA. Phoenix, rightfully so. Third best record or second best record?
Second.
Although really
that
well.
gap has cut in half.
Yeah.
Real quickly.
Well, I mean, the Clippers are feeling the Nuggets like Jokic breathing on their back, literally. Like, he is just right there, just staring at them, breathing in Kawhi's robotic ear. Like, I'm coming for you. But I actually kind of like it this way. I kind of like that the Nuggets really aren't the team that's being talked about, because in years past, it was like the Nuggets were getting that Utah Jazz, Phoenix Suns love. Like, look at this team. They're super deep and all this, so fun. Now it's just like we've gotten to a point, at least it feels like with the national media, to where they're like, it's Jokic. That's just what you expect from him, to put up 27, 7, and 8. Like, that's just another night for Jokic out there, even though he put up another triple-double. I like the fact that they're going under the radar. Do you feel that way, or do you think they should get more pub?
No, I like that they're under the radar. I think it's ridiculous when anyone says that anyone else should be MVP other than Nikola Jokic. Um, but I mean, just the fact that people bring up Harden is absolutely ridiculous. The dude literally quit on his team. He also has Kevin Durant and Kyrie Irving on that team. I don't care if they haven't played together very many games, they still have them. Like I saw a list the other day. It had both Harden and Kyrie in the top 8. It's like, what? That automatically takes both of them out. You can't do that. That's ridiculous. Let alone that they have Kevin Durant on that team. Like, come on, no. So yeah, that's the only thing that just bugs me. And look, I don't usually care about MVP at all. But the fact that I think it's more of trying to find anyone else other than Jokic to win it. And it just bothers a lot of people. It bothers national media. I think it bothers the higher ups in the NBA, to be honest. Which doesn't really make sense because it's another international player that could win MVP for a third straight year. So that's cool, but it just doesn't seem like the NBA wants it. It's pretty obvious when you look at the free throw attempts between him and Embiid. The second Embiid came back, he put up like 22 and 9 or something, and I was like, "Oh, he's back in the MVP race." I'm like, seriously?
Well, his first game back, I think he shot like close to 20 free throws. And Altitude put up a graphic of the free throw discrepancy of all the MVP candidates. And Nikola Jokic is by far last in that.
I think he's right there with LeBron, and LeBron's missed like most of the season now at this point. So, or not most, but a good portion of the season. Like, that's the, and we're watching the games. He gets fouled, and it's not like it's the LeBron Giannis effect where he's just a bowling ball in there, or like Zion where it's like it is a foul, but he's so big and strong that he just kind of, it doesn't look like a foul. No, Nikola Jokic is pretty much a melted pile of ice cream out there. Like it looks like a foul, and it is a foul. So I don't get it. But someone brought it up, like, what's it gonna take for them to get the respect that they should be getting? And it's win a championship. Yeah, it's like when you go to a bank and be like, yeah, I need a credit card when you're 17 years or 18 years old, and they're like, well, you need credit, and you're like, well, how do I get credit? Well, you should probably get a credit card. Like, okay, well, that's what I'm trying to do. That's what it's like for the Nuggets. Like, do you want respect? Well, yeah, we're trying to get respect. Can we have some respect? No. Well, what is it going to take? We'll win a championship. Well, how the hell are we going to win a championship if we don't get any respect around here? And the other team's getting 20 more free throws. You're spotting them 15 to 20 points already. Like that. Yeah. That's what it's like. But at the end of the day, you got to win. And if you don't win, you're never going to get it.
Yeah. No, it's for me. Like, I see a lot of people, a lot of Nuggets fans are getting mad about this because Jokic doesn't seem to be getting the love for MVP, which he should. And I do think he's the front runner now. I'm not as mad about it, to be honest with you. I still don't think he's going to win it. I still think they're going to find a way to give it to somebody else. And, like, would it be cool? Yes, of course it would be awesome to have an MVP here in Denver, but
he'd be the first, right?
That. Yeah, I think so. Yeah, Melo never won one. So I think it would be awesome to have one here. But do we need that to validate who he is? No. Like, we don't need that. So for me,
when he gets all NBA first team ahead Embiid, that's.
Yeah. But it's like, we don't need that. And going back to your point, and I've said this multiple times on the podcast, is Jokic doesn't fit the typical NBA superstar mold. No. He doesn't look like the Giannis is. He's not an athletic freak like Giannis. He's not a global superstar like LeBron, and has the resume of LeBron. He doesn't shoot, crazy threes like Steph. He doesn't do any of that. He doesn't have the aggression of Russell Westbrook. He's not Kevin Durant, but he's really freaking good at basketball. Really, really good. And his peers know this, but he's a white, pudgy dude from Serbia, who he's not a brand. He's just funny and goofy, but he goes out there and he drops a triple double on your head, playing against better athletes every night. And he's just more skilled than you. So it is what it is. I'm more irritated about the free throw discrepancy. You're not going to get every call. I get that. But like when we saw, what was it, the Magic game, when he's going up against, I think it was Wendell Carter or maybe it was Mo Bamba, and he literally gets slapped on the arm and they don't call a foul, and he runs to the side and just completely punches Terrence Ross in the ribs, and Terrence Ross is like, dude, why are you punching me? I didn't foul you. And Jokic's like, I'm sorry, I blacked out, I lost it. But you see the back of his arms, and it looks like he just got out of a fight with a crocodile.
Yeah.
You know, he's getting scraped up and he's getting beat up, all the while still putting up 27 plus, getting his numbers, making an impact on his team. So would it be cool for him to win MVP? Yes. But at the end of the day, I don't need that. I don't think Nuggets fans need that or should need that. You know, we have our goal on a bigger prize. And I think I said this last week on the podcast. I'd much rather him win finals MVP than MVP.
Yeah.
Give me that. That's the one I want for him. Okay. Yeah. So if he doesn't get the MVP, would it suck? Yes, because he's clearly playing the best right now. Now, granted, yes, LeBron was hurt, did get hurt. Embiid was having a hell of a season himself, and then he got hurt. And that's why I think another two, when you compare those two guys, look who's available and look who's not. Like, that's just a part of Embiid's career now. He's just not available enough. Jokic hasn't missed a game due to injury since 2017. So who's more reliable here? So I think, and then when you look at James Harden, like, I think anybody out of Brooklyn should be just immediately disqualified because that team is now stacked. Even though Blake Griffin and Aldridge and DeAndre Jordan, they're not what they used to be, but they're still really dang good role players. Like, they're still better than your average 10th guy on somebody else's roster, right? Like, if it's Blake Griffin versus, Facu Campazzo, I mean, come on, right? Like, so you have 3 MVP candidates on one team who Kyrie hasn't won a final or an MVP, but he's an MVP type of player candidate. So how can you point and say, oh, it's James Harden? Well, yeah, throw Jokic on that team and look how insane his numbers would be too. And he's still doing that without those guys. So we don't need it. It sucks because I don't think he'll get it. Maybe he will. That would be awesome. Maybe that will give him some love and respect from the referees. But at the end of the day, he doesn't need it. And he just goes out and plays his game. And I think if he just focuses on playing his game as best as he can, then they'll be fine.
Yeah.
Win a championship like JaVale McGee. How are they going to get that respect? You win a championship.
That's who said it was JaVale. Yeah, I mean, if he was getting as many free throws as Embiid, he'd probably be 90% from the free throw line, to be honest. He'd be averaging a 50, 40, 90 this year, which is crazy. But yeah, he's 3.8% away from the free throw line from getting 50, 40, 90 this year. He's a center.
Mm-hmm.
That's ridiculous. I think the last one to do that was Steph, right? And Steph might do it again this year. It's hard to do. It's very hard to do, and he's right there. So yeah, he should win MVP. Will he? Probably not. But I mean, he's averaging 4.7 free throw attempts this season, which is a career high by 0.3.
That's insane, though. For as much as he bangs in the post, for that guy to only get 4 free throw attempts a game, that's insane to me.
Yeah.
I mean, that's insane. Now, granted, he's a physical player. I think that's kind of an underrated part of his game. He is very physical in the post, and he does like to hook that chicken wing a little bit. I mean, he doesn't really get called for that, but he does hook that thing a little bit. But it's kind of like the Shaq effect, the LeBron effect, in the sense that they're so big that you don't think they're getting fouled, but they're still getting fouled. Now, I don't think he deserves every call. There's definitely nights and times where he accentuates calls, and I think he tries too hard to draw a foul. But I think he should be living right around 7 free throws a game. I think that's a fair number for him. But it's at 4. What can you do? You got to win games or win a championship, apparently. So, referees can't just referee games based on a foul being a foul. It has to be about superstar status and all that. I mean, look at MPJ. MPJ gets once or twice a game, just gets slapped, and the refs are like, nah.
Well, there was the one the other day. It might have been against Detroit, where he got fouled and the ball just kind of rolled around the rim and then out. And then once it missed, then the ref blew his whistle and was like, okay. It's like, dude, what? Why are we doing this? If it goes in, it's not a foul. What is? That's not a thing. But it was pretty obvious. The ref was watching the ball. It did not go in, so then he blew his whistle. And it rolled around a while there. So it's not like it was like a slightly slow reaction. It was, no, I'm waiting for the ball to see if it goes in or out. He was standing there just watching it. Like, dude, call the foul. Doesn't matter if it goes in or out. It's a foul. What is going on with this league right now? And
the refereeing,
it's been awful.
It's definitely been a low point, but I don't like to be that guy that's like, the refs. Like,
I mean, it happens to everyone.
It does. I'm a firm believer in, like, you shouldn't really blame games on referee. Now, can they make calls that changes a game? Sure, but I don't think a referee ever decides a game, because in my mind, don't play so badly that you leave it up to the refs to make a call that decides a game. So that's kind of where I come from. But
it's those other things that, waiting for the ball to see if it goes in or not, then I'll call the foul if it misses. Or, Nikola Jokic, like, he's not Giannis or Embiid, so we're not gonna give him the calls. Like, that's where it bothers me. Like, Nikola Jokic should be getting the benefit of the doubt from the refs more than some of these other guys, or just as much as Embiid. I
agree. Like I said, I think 7.
Because what has Embiid done?
Well, right. Did he make it to was it the Eastern Conference Finals against Toronto that year when Kawhi hit that little bounce around shot? Was that the Eastern Conference Finals?
It might have been.
Okay. So at that point, they've made it to the same amount of conference finals. I'm going to double check that, because was it?
I think
or did they play Milwaukee after that? I can't remember. Because that was what, 2018?
That would have been 2019 playoffs.
I don't know if that was. Let me see. 20 Eastern Conference semis, Eastern Conference semis, Eastern Conference first round. So no, he has not been to a conference finals. Wow. Or, well, is the semis the conference finals? It would just say conference finals, wouldn't it?
Here, I have it up here. So yeah, it was.
No, yeah. So the semis aren't.
It was the second round.
Yeah.
Toronto ended up beating Milwaukee in 6 that year.
Okay, there we go. So yeah, he's never even made it as far as Jokic has. So one guy has been further than the other guy. He's just as good, if not better, offensively than Embiid. Now, obviously, we would concede that Embiid's a better defensive player. But we know what Jokic can bring on the defensive side of the ball. It's not like Jokic is some slouch at this point. Like, we have said multiple times on this podcast that there's at least 2 to 3 times a game where Jokic gets a swipe, a steal, a deflection that leads to a bucket down at the other end. It leads to a touchdown pass. Gary Harris, speaking of that, Gary Harris made his debut last night, went 2 of 10. So, but still, like, that's what happens with Jokic. Yeah, I was keeping up with Gary. I was like, oh, he's playing tonight. And I was like, all right, I'm just going to check in second quarter, see how he's doing. Gary Harris, 0 of 7. And I was like, woof, that's not promising. That's kind of what he was doing here. But go Gary. He finished with like 8 points, 2 of 10. He was 4 of 4 from the free throw line, though. So
hey, he got as many free throws as Jokic.
That's a plus. Wow, that's sad. That's sad. Unbelievable. But anyways, I just think that with Jokic, he deserves more foul calls. I think 7 a game is fine. 7 I mean, 10 might be a lot. Like 10 free throws is a lot.
Yeah, well, James Harden's out here getting 15 to 20,
Well,
so.
yeah. Well, half of those he manipulates though too. So, and then, speaking of that, did you see that they're thinking about changing the rule of verticality and like shot selection? So like for guys like Damian Lillard and Trae Young, James Harden, when they're coming off that screen and they're perpendicular, they're parallel to the ground and they're shooting a three, they're like, yeah, that's not a normal shooting stance.
Yeah, Jamal tried to do that
count.
and, he didn't get it, so.
Right. Well, speaking of, God, I'm just going on tangents everywhere. Last night, there was a moment in the game where Pirtle gets switched on to Monte Morris. And what does Monte do? He attacks him and gets a layup. I immediately thought, if that was Jamal's going through the legs 5 times, and he's stepping back and shooting a contested 3. I'm like, dang it, man. We have to talk about Monte at some point.
But he makes them, so it's like,
maybe less than most of the time. Some of the time.
Half the time.
That might be generous. Maybe like 40%.
He makes a good amount of them. Monte can't do that.
No. But can we talk about Monte though? Now that we're here, like we were both questioning the extension. Like we were surprised. Not that we hated it because we like Monte, but it was just a surprise. I don't know where this team would be without Monte.
Well, now it makes a lot of sense because they were just going to trade RJ Hampton anyways.
Yeah, well, there you go. Boom. Tim Collins is like, see, read between the lines, stupid. But he is the epitome of steady Eddie. Like when Monte Morris is in the game, I'm not concerned. Mm-hmm. I'm not concerned at all. I don't feel like there's going to be, there's a little bit of a drop off from him to Jamal, or from Jamal to him. But when Monte's in, you're going to get a great decision maker, a guy who can hit shots, clutch shots. And he's just steady. Like he's just a dream player that every coach would want from the second unit, or even in the first unit to play minutes. And he told Coach Malone this week, I guess, apparently this is what Chris Dempsey was saying last night, that Monte went to Malone this week and he said he wants to go back to the bench so he can help solidify that unit and just get back into his rhythm. And I was like, man, like that's a guy who's selfless, just cares about the team. I think it helps that your best player on your team is like that as well. Just really cares more about the team than himself. But where would we be without Monte Morris? That guy, he could be a starter for another team right now. And he just accepts his role. He's so dang good at it. When he was out, the Nuggets really missed him. You felt his presence being gone when Facu had to play his minutes. Now that he's back, it's just a breath of fresh air. And he's just so good.
He runs that second unit really well. He's one of those players that, he's good enough to start, but is he good enough to play at a high level against other starting point guards?
Right. He's not going to be a star.
One of those. It's one of those things where it's like you actually want him on the bench because he's gonna kill other guys' other team's second unit. But if he's a starter, it's not gonna be like he's not gonna be great against other great starting lineups. Does that make sense? Like he's a really good point guard that can dominate second units, but he's kind of average against starting units. And so I think that's where it gives Denver such an advantage, because now when he does go up against the bench units, he's way better than them. And so it makes your bench, that's why depth doesn't matter. It's your top, 7, 8 guys that matters, because if your 6 is better than their 6, 7, 8, he's going to dominate their 6, 7, 8 because that's who he's playing against. And so that's where, like in the playoffs, he's going to be one of those guys that they're going to need a Monte game. He's going to win them a game. Will Barton will win them a game. Aaron Gordon will win them a game.
Will might lose them a game too, though.
True. JaVale, you know what? JaVale McGee is going to win them a game. And so all of those guys are going to have 1 or 2 games, depending on how far they go, 1 or 2 games where it was like, that game, if it wasn't for one of those 4 guys, they lose that game because the starters match, right? A lot of times your stars will match. It's about the others.
Mhm.
And, sometimes you get a weird, like J.R. Smith. He had a couple games during that 2016 run where it was just like, or in the finals, I believe it was either game 5 or game 6. And he just had a ridiculous run, or game 7 maybe. It was just one of those 5-minute stretches. And if it wasn't for J.R. Smith, who the following year loses them a game, right? But if it wasn't for J.R. Smith, they don't come back from 3-1. They don't win that series. So there's always one of those games where it's like, yeah, you need those guys. Even though Will Barton does the stupidest things in the world, he's going to win you a game at some point.
He's been playing really well. Like everybody on
Yes.
this team is playing so well
He,
right now.
but Will have one of those 0-for-15 games, and
Which
then
he did, I think, the first Spurs game. I
right,
think
but
he didn't play
then
well.
he'll run off like 3 or 4 straight games where it's like 15 to 20 points, on
I'm
10 to
curious
12
to see
shots.
what his box score, like what his, because he's been really, like, everybody's just been playing so good. And I don't want to say like it's been all Aaron Gordon, like he's really,
No,
but like
but
that's
you
really
know
the
what?
only thing that you can think of, right? Like
Well,
it's
no. Look, is it Aaron Gordon? Maybe. I think here's what I'll say. It's Aaron Gordon indirectly. And what I mean by that is who's the guy that's really kind of opened a lot of people's eyes is MPJ. But MPJ with Aaron Gordon, that's the reason. Aaron Gordon hides a lot of those issues that MPJ has defensively. So now what it's letting MPJ do defensively is letting him be a weak side help defender. And by the way, just real quick, MPJ saved that game last night, even though he missed the free throw. His defensive effort on the other side won them that game. So he's been someone where he's 6'10" with a 7'3" wingspan. He can,
Yeah, he needed all of that last night on that last contest.
right?
He needed all of it.
But defensively, that's huge for them because what he does is he gives them a great rebounder, not just a great rebounder on the offensive side as well. But then defensively, that's a lot of length to where he's affecting shots. He's either getting a block or he's affecting shots. But Aaron Gordon helps him because now he doesn't have to guard the one-on-one on the outside. He can be your weak side defender, and Aaron Gordon can take on those roles. Or when they do need to switch, Aaron Gordon can still defend those guys because he's quick and he's quick enough, he's small enough, whatever, or he's big enough and strong enough. So he's both. He's versatile. So he helps MPJ. And then offensively, Aaron Gordon has actually kind of taken on the role of what MPJ was doing, which was being the cutter and the corner guy. Now MPJ, even though Jamal's been out, and that's part of it, but he's more of a focal point offensively. So he's allowed to maybe go one-on-one a few times and do more things. Even when Jamal was playing, you kind of saw that MPJ was taking more of a important role offensively instead of just being the other corner, just being the corner guy and the cutter, because Aaron Gordon needs to be that guy. So it's elevated MPJ more so than Aaron Gordon going out there and averaging 20 a game. No, that's MPJ, and even though MPJ was doing a little bit of that, like he was getting there before Aaron Gordon, I think he sped that process up a little bit more. So it's Aaron Gordon, but indirectly.
He's changed everything Aaron Gordon has, but I mean everybody's just lifted their game. I'm looking at the box scores. Okay, Will Barton in the month of March, 14.4. Like each month he's gone up in points per game. Well, except for let's see. December he was at 12.3, so he went down in January, 10.8, 11.8 February, March at 14.4. Now he's a shade under 18 this month. You look at MPJ the last 2 months. March it was 20.3, this month it's 21 points per game. You look at Monte, it was 7.8 last month, he didn't play too much. This month it's 12 points per game. Like this team, everybody is playing so well right now. It's not only that they're playing well, but they're just dangerous.
Everyone's in their correct role.
Right, and that's what I'm saying. Aaron Gordon has really been the last piece to solidify everybody playing to what they need to do and where they can flourish. And then you look at Aaron Gordon, it's like, well, okay, if Jamal's averaging 20 and Jokic is theoretically averaging 25 to 27, and then MPJ's putting in 19 to 20, and then Will Barton's putting in 15 to 17, then Aaron Gordon is literally the wild card of just go get 7 to 14 tonight.
Well,
Or even him and Will might swap night tonight, right?
Well, since he got there, his first game was against who? Atlanta?
Yes.
Okay. So yeah, okay, it says right there. Previously with Orlando. Okay, so but I'm gonna go off his points per game, right? Or his points in each game. This is literally, this shows he's not the reason why they are 7-0 with Aaron Gordon. 13 points, 2 rebounds. 6 points, 4 rebounds. 14 points, 6 rebounds. 24 points, 2 rebounds. That's his biggest game. 9 points, 3 rebounds. 9 points, 2 rebounds. 11 points, 1 rebound. Like, it's not... Sorry, it wasn't 24 and 2. It's 24 and 7. It's not necessarily he's going out there putting up 24 and 7 every night.
No.
Most nights he's putting up 9 and 4, 9 and 3. And that's not the reason why they're going off and winning 7 straight. But you know what? Let's go look at Michael Porter Jr.'s numbers since acquiring Aaron Gordon. And that's where you're going to see the difference. So, again, and look, was he playing really well already before they got Aaron Gordon? Yes. Throughout the month of April, he put up 17 and 15, 11 and 7, 24, 11, 21 and 9, 23 and 8, 20 and 8. So he was already playing really well, but since getting Aaron Gordon, he's put up 15 and 10, 27, 12 and 4, 20 and 4 with 2 blocks, 20 and 12, 25 and 7 with a block, 18 and 10 with a steal and a block, 22, 10 and 2 with a steal and a block as well. And he's shooting more often. And
5 of his last 6 have been 20-plus points per game.
Yeah, it's 12 shots, 16 shots, 11, 14, 16, 14, 15. All, by the way, shooting pretty close to 60% from the field and about 44% from 3 and 93% from the free throw line. He's averaging, almost 60, 40, 90. So that's where it's like, that's the difference is he's not only, like, he's putting up similar numbers. I think he's getting maybe slightly more rebounds since acquiring Aaron Gordon, which is kind of weird. But what he's doing, I think he's a little bit more efficient and he's more part of the offense because he's in a correct role.
They're running sets for him. They're running plays for him.
Yeah.
That down screen from Jokic to him and he comes to the free throw, I don't know why defenders are going underneath that. Like listen, if you go over it and you chase him, he's going to curl to the basket. And that's, if it's not a dunk, it's a kick out to somebody for 3. But I would almost rather risk that and have the help side take away the dunk, hopefully, and have them kick out a 3 and risk they miss a 3 than have MPJ just take a free throw line jumper. I saw this stat last night. 2 NBA players are averaging at least 15 points and hitting 60% of their 2s and 40% of their 3s. You know who they are? MPJ and Nikola Jokic. Why would you go underneath that screen? And he's just playing insane right now. But again, to your point about Aaron Gordon and his box score, like if you were an outside fan and you're not a Nuggets fan, you don't watch this team every night.
If you're a Magic fan and you're looking at the box score every night.
Right. You're seeing, okay, the Nuggets are now 8-0 with Aaron Gordon, but I'm looking at his box score and he's putting up these numbers. How is this? Like, it looks like it's a failed trade. It's like, oh, man, this is all they're getting from Aaron Gordon. But if you watch the game, his importance isn't told in the box score. It's in being in rotation. It's switching and making it a tough contest on a Kawhi Leonard or a Trae Young or a DeMar DeRozan, or taking one of those guys the entire night and making it tough. It's one little flash, on a 10-0 run from the other team, but it's a flash in the middle of the lane to stop a run, to stop the bleeding. Or how many and ones has this guy had in each game?
Well, he's and one and miss.
Right. Yeah, he's
but
been better
he's
though.
been
His free
better.
throw shooting has been a little bit better since I critiqued him on that. It's still pretty stiff, and it's still straight line drive Mason Plumlee style, but his impact is just something that the box score and the stat sheet won't tell you.
Hmm.
And I mean, kudos to him and really kudos to this team and Tim Connolly because they've found a lot of guys that are just willing to buy into their role. And there's a lot of guys on this team who could probably be starters elsewhere. Well, would be starters elsewhere. Could star in a bigger role. Will Barton,
Jeremy
all
Grant.
these other guys. Jeremy Grant. You saw Monte Morris. We just talked about. But guys are buying in because they really truly believe, and I really truly believe too. If the Nets weren't a thing, if they didn't have all three of those guys there, I really do think the Nuggets have enough to win a championship. I really do think that. Now, winning it is a different story. You have to get through LeBron and you have to get through Brooklyn. But now that Brooklyn's kind of made what they've made, I don't think anybody's going to get past them, unfortunately. But the Nuggets have enough. And I think all these guys see that and they realize this. They see, okay, Jokic is an MVP legitimately. Jamal Murray is, yes, there's inconsistency. He's cleaned that up a little bit, but he's one of the most dangerous, if not the most dangerous fourth quarter player in the league. Like you don't want the ball in Jamal's hands with 5 minutes left to go.
And by the way, that's something that I wanted to bring up real quick. That game last night doesn't get to 3 points if Jamal's playing. That ends way quicker than it did. And it's funny because I think I'll say this: without Jamal, Nikola Jokic is not as good of a closer. They run that 2-man game so well that it opens it up for Jokic to make plays late in games. But when he's by himself, it's that classic, well, centers can't really create their own shot. That 2-man game with Jamal creates his shot. And it's so hard to defend because it helps him create shots a little bit easier. And it's not just dumping it in the post and have him make a play, because you can double that and you can get rid of that. So that's why I've always said, at least in today's game, you can't build around a center and win a championship. But he's different because of his passing ability and because he can create a little bit better than other centers in the past. But he does need Jamal to help him create, just like Shaq needed Kobe or Dwayne Wade. So you do need, he still does need Jamal or need that other guy to run that 2-man game. He can still do it by himself, yes, but that makes it that much tougher. Without Jamal, you can tell it's a little bit more of trying to figure things out to end games, more so than, okay, we know what we're doing. So without Jamal, that game doesn't get to 3 points.
Monte's not as feared as Jamal is. Monte, even though we just gave Monte 8 minutes of love there, he's not as dangerous as Jamal is. Jamal does different things.
The shot making in the fourth quarter.
Shot making, just his ability in that time to just play unfazed. It's just dangerous.
He has that it thing. He has that it factor. He's clutch.
He could be 7 of 42 in the game with minus 12 points. And once it's 5 minutes, and if the game was within 3, I still don't want the ball in his hands because I know what can happen. And so as a defense, you have to respect him, but then it's okay, then it's Jokic as well. We have to, who are we going to try and take away? Because if we shade towards Jokic, then it's Jamal. If we shade towards Jamal, then it's Jokic.
And
when
so
it's Monte in there, then it's a little bit, okay, we can just kind of just shade against Jokic.
Right. And I think it's actually, I kind of want Jamal to sit a little bit more, because here's the next step for MPJ. It's, look, he's putting up 24 and 10, 20 and 10. Great. You're taking on that second role on this team without Jamal. But I want to see him be more effective late in games. Now, he did it last night in a sense. He missed the free throw. He made a big play defensively. Great. But I want him to be able to go one-on-one late in games and be able to hit shots and hit tough shots. And not just take those shots, but have that confidence to do so. Okay, I'm going to do this. And this is my turn. Jamal does it. Jokic will do it. It's not just a 2-man game. They'll go one-on-one and make plays. I think that's the next because look, you look at Brooklyn, they have three guys that can do that. If you want to beat a team like Brooklyn or be just as good as that team, you need a third guy to be willing to do that. Will is willing to do that, but he just can't do it. He doesn't have the skill set, and really, he has the confidence, but we don't trust him to do that. MPJ has the talent, the skill set to do it. He doesn't quite have the confidence yet, in my opinion.
You don't think so? I think he does.
Who?
I don't think he's scared of the moment at all.
I don't think he's necessarily scared of the moment, but it's the, I think it's getting over the hump of it's Jamal and Jokic's time, right? And so with Jamal out, I want him to be able to feel like, okay, it's my time. It's not just we're going to get the ball to Jokic and hope that Jokic can make plays by himself. No, it's let's see what MPJ can do in these late game situations. Instead of running the offense around Jokic still, they kind of just stay with it. But in those late games, in late games, you do need one guy to say, you know what, I'm going to go one-on-one here and try and win this game for us. And he's just not to that point. And I get it, he's 22. But that's the next evolution. Yeah, he's the third guy on this team, understandably, when Jamal's out there. But he still needs to learn how to do that.
Yeah.
Because the other team on the other side has three guys that can do that.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, But
that's the next evolution of MPJ.
Yes, I agree. But I think he has that. I think he can do it. It's just about understanding when it's necessary and needed from him.
Mm-hmm.
It's not going to be often that it's needed from him.
But he should have done it last night. It was a perfect opportunity for him to do it last night.
Yeah, he needed to make that last free throw. But, he still played really freaking well last night. 22, 10, and 2. He was great last night.
But and, I'm saying in that last 5 minutes, he should have had 8 points.
That's fair. But for a kid that's 22 years old and he's already putting up the numbers he is in his second regular season that he's starting.
And look, I'm not criticizing. I'm not trying to criticize him. I'm just saying that's the next step, right? Because every month he seems to take a step this season. At least it's been like that, which is great and that's awesome. But what I'm saying is now he's solidified third guy. 20 points a game, 10 rebounds. He knows his role. But in games where maybe, what if Jamal doesn't have it in the playoffs for some reason in a certain game? What if Jamal's struggling and Jokic is kind of carrying it? They need him, or they need someone to kind of hit those shots that maybe Jamal's not hitting for whatever reason, or maybe it's Jokic and Jamal needs help. That fourth quarter in that late game, I would like to see MPJ kind of get comfortable with, I can be that guy. And right now, he's not going to do that. He needs the experience in the regular season to do so. And so that's where it was last night was a perfect opportunity. And it just didn't happen. But that's where that needs to be his next step. And that's something that he can kind of work on. Maybe not the rest of this season. We probably won't see it in the playoffs. But next season, that's I think a big goal for him next year is being able to be like, okay, even if our 1 and 2 guys aren't there, I can be the one guy and not just the one throughout the game, but the one at the end of the game too.
Sure, I just don't know how often he's going to get those opportunities. Right. But I think everybody within that organization knows what he can do and knows he can be that guy. It's just about getting that opportunity. But talk about a luxury to have an MVP candidate, a all-star caliber player in Jamal, and a young budding star in MPJ, who are not only all stupid talented, but are 3 of the toughest shot makers in the NBA. I would easily put them in the top 10 of toughest shot makers in the league right now. And just guys who I don't think MPJ is afraid of the big moments. But at least we know Jokic and Jamal's not. But I don't think MPJ is, because we see the type of shots he takes, and those are shots where you just don't care about the result.
Right.
And I think for him, like if he was on a Charlotte Hornets or an Orlando Magic, and they need MPJ. I don't think he cares one bit. He's taking the 37-foot three that's contested
Yeah.
with the guy tickling his
But here,
earlobes.
I'll say my concern right now for MPJ, and we'll find out here very quickly. When the playoffs start, we know Jokic and Jamal will elevate their game because they've done it the last 2 years. And that's something that we've learned, that they know that they can elevate their game in the playoffs and that they need to. We haven't seen MPJ in a significant role in the playoffs. Not even last year. So
Yeah, it was his first playoffs.
Right. So what is he, can he still do what he's doing now in the playoffs? Because there's a lot of really, really great players in this league, MVP type players, that don't elevate their game in the playoffs / finals. And honestly, one of them, it's been up and down. He's elevated in certain moments, but it's been kind of like, where is he in other moments? Steph Curry. You know,
Well, the finals in particular, yeah.
Finals, yeah. James Harden is also one of those guys.
Yeah.
He's kind of, it's not, his numbers don't increase or elevate. His play doesn't elevate. It's more of, it actually goes down. His numbers on playoffs go down.
Well, it's when you need him in the biggest moments,
right.
He's not there.
And that's why I'm saying MPJ, I want him to get these moments and get comfortable with doing so. And I wonder with those guys, and maybe James Harden in particular, like, he was a third guy on a big three team for a few years. He didn't really learn how to be that number one guy. And when he did get, they got to the finals, but he didn't have to really be that guy. It was Kevin Durant, and then it was Russ. Then he got on his own. Yeah, he could do it in the regular season. That's easy. But then when he got to the playoffs, he just wasn't the same guy. And I wonder if that's because as a 20, 21, 22-year-old, he just didn't get to learn that. Now, could he have learned it in the 7-8 years that he was in Houston? Yeah, he probably should have. But it just never got there. And I wonder if with MPJ, like, is that going to be the same thing? Like,
maybe.
I want Jamal to miss maybe another 5 games because I want Jokic to play in some of these tougher games and see if he could kind of figure it out. But again, like I said, that's the concern that I have, is how is MPJ going to be in the playoffs? We know how Jokic and Jamal will, but I just don't know what to expect from him. And it might be the scenario where we're going to have to ask Aaron Gordon to be that third guy.
I think it's a valid concern, but I think here's what I'll say. I think I wouldn't be shocked if he struggles maybe like the first game or the first series, but we know the rotation's shortened, so he's going to have a lot of playing time to work through funks and just to be there. And now he's at a point in his career, and he said this, Malone has said this, MPJ now knows, okay, if my shot's not going in, I can impact the game with my rebounding, with my defensive effort, stuff like that. I can impact it by cutting, just opening up space for a guy on the weak side, and that's a toss out for a three. So I think now he's at the point to where it's like, okay, I don't have to score 20 to be considered impactful or to be a needle mover. I can affect the games in other ways, specifically rebounding. Like you said, he should be a great rebounder. He should easily average in this league 8 rebounds a game.
No.
Easily. He should be one of the top rebounders each and every year because he's just his size, but he just has a good feel for it. And he can impact it that way. So while I think that is a valid concern, I'm not as much concerned because he's going to get a lot of minutes. And I think now he understands where else he can impact the game. And plus, still at the end of the day, when you look at the Denver Nuggets and when you're scheming for them and when you're game planning for them, the head of the snake is Nikola.
Right.
Okay?
Right. It's not like he's getting difficult shots.
Right.
He's getting
the head
shots.
of the snake is Nikola, and then, or let's do like a scorpion, all right? The pinchers are Nikola. You see that one, but then the stinger in the back, that's Jamal. You better watch out because if you don't pay attention to the stinger, that's going to hit you. And then that scorpion could still bite you. That's MPJ. So I think he's going to get chances, and we've talked about this before. Whose 3 is better than the Nuggets 3 outside of Brooklyn? Okay? So your 3 has to be able to not only match him offensively, but guard him. Okay, so I don't. There's a lot of good teams. Like I think Phoenix, and I mentioned this too. I think they have a sneaky good defensive roster that's going to play really well for them in the playoffs. I think that's one team that I think could match up with the Nuggets well defensively. My only concern with them is, can they do it on the other end as well? Can you
Right.
rely on them to shut down those guys every single possession? Because if you put out a Torrey Craig against MPJ, or if it's Mikal Bridges against MPJ, yeah, maybe he might be able to play well defensively, but is he going to have enough energy on the other side to put up points? And then Aaron Gordon, is your 4 better than the Nuggets 4?
Right.
To take him away, and if MPJ doesn't have it, okay, now you have to worry about the other guy, your 4th guy, trying to stop Aaron Gordon, which good luck. So I think for the Nuggets, they're now at a point to where they're stupid talented, to where now when you're game planning for them, it's literally pick your poison. How do we want to approach this? Because I don't know.
And by the way, they're getting hot at the right time.
Right. They're playing well as we're leading into the playoffs, and then again too, then we're not even remember Will Barton. If he can provide 15 to 17 a night, how do you game plan?
He's their 5th guy. That's not
exactly. So obviously the head of the snake, as I just mentioned, is Nikola. If I'm still playing the Denver Nuggets, I'm doubling him and I'm getting the ball out of his hands as much as possible. But then it's okay.
But I don't. I don't
hands,
think you can do that. Here's what I'll say. If you're Utah and if you're Phoenix, you don't have to double Nikola. Now, in moments, maybe you should, but he is so dangerous passing the ball. It's like playing LeBron. Are you really gonna double LeBron? Because LeBron's gonna find the open guy.
Here's the key with that. You can't double Nikola when he can see it coming at him, because when he sees it, you're cooked. But there's times where teams will get him. Every now and then, they'll sneak up behind him and swipe the ball, or he doesn't see it coming, and whoever's in the weak side doesn't yell at him that, hey, this guy's coming behind your back.
But that's rare for that to happen. So I would do that, but as far as doubling him every play, you can't. You just can't. Because, like you just said, we have a better 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6 than you. So you double number 1, sure, but we're going to beat you with 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6. I mean, like, go down the list. Jamal can hit a 3 on you if you leave him, which you're not. Okay, if I leave MPJ, well, he's going to hit a 3 or he's going to cut to the rim. Well, Aaron Gordon, I can't leave him because he's going to hit a 3 or he's going to cut to the rim and get an easy dunk. Okay, well, what about Will? Well, same thing. Off the bench, Monte, same thing. He can hit a 3. So it's impossible to double him unless it is that 1 in every 10 tries that he doesn't see it. But it's 1 in every 10. Maybe even less than that.
Yeah. And when you look at the Nuggets plays, I don't know if you follow like Steve Jones Jr. on Twitter or like Nikias or any of these guys that like break down Nuggets film or like film in general, but they've been breaking down, like, the Nuggets don't run a lot of sets, but every set that they run, there's so many counters to it.
They run the same one most time where they got Jokic and MPJ on the elbows. They run the 2-man game with Jamal, right? Or no? Or is it it's a down screen?
But one thing they do a lot is it's Jokic at the elbow with the ball, and then it's Murray setting a screen for Gordon or MPJ, and he can either cut or he can come get the handoff. Or if you leave, if they both go after Gordon, Jamal kicks out to the 3, but they run horn sets and double drags, and it's just like they have so many different counters. They've been running this one a lot too, to where it's Jokic at the opposite elbow, and Jamal comes to set a screen from the basket for Gordon, and he can either cut, and that's open if you leave that, or if both guys go, then Jamal flares out behind Jokic, and that's either a 3. And then if that guy pops out, Jokic rolls, and then it's a pass, and it's like, oh, where do you go?
Right.
What do you take away?
And those plays aren't just run with those 3 guys. You know, that's the hard part is Monte can do it, Will can do it, Aaron Gordon can do it. Hell, JaVale McGee could do it. And that's the other kind of piece to where
He's
JaVale
gonna be
McGee, oh
key in
my
the
God, he
playoffs.
fits so perfectly.
Yeah.
He is like that game that he had against the first game against San Antonio, that was ridiculous. Like
Mhm.
that was just he like the second he comes into the game, he dominates the game
Mhm.
because of the way he fits with the team. And it's the now he does some stupid things. He got doubled he got doubled in the last one. And he kind of just like threw it in the air and it just kind of I don't know what happened. So it's like Will where he would just do something really stupid and okay, well there's or like JR, but that's who McGee is, and we know that from when he was here the first stint. He did it in Golden State. He did it with the Lakers last season. He does stupid things, but what he does for this team and his fit, it's just I mean he had 7 points, 8 rebounds, and a block against San Antonio in that first game. He played 14 minutes. He was a plus 15. Yeah,
Yep.
he had 3 fouls too. Like,
Well, and that's why I think a lot of people like he's not playing a lot of minutes right now, but he's going to be so key in the playoffs.
right.
I think that's where you're going to see him most, specifically against the Lakers, because that's where that matchup is going to be
I would
needed.
say against Phoenix, if they run into Phoenix, he can take DeAndre Ayton out of the game.
Well, but why would you start him though? Because then you would have
I'm not saying
Nicole
start him, but
guard.
I'm just saying in stretches. Like if DeAndre Ayton comes out and you're playing that series and he's just killing you,
I mean,
okay,
I
well
guess if
JaVale
Jokic
goes
gets in
in.
foul trouble, sure, but
Yeah, but I think he's a guy that he's going to be important. There's a lot of good centers in the West. And I think with Phoenix, you're right. I think they're the one team outside the Lakers and the. I'm not even that worried about the Clippers because the Nuggets are just flat out better than the Clippers. Not only are they better, more talented, but they match up really well against the Clippers. Like they have
I think
all three
Rondo changes a
phases.
little bit of things for them, though. I think Rondo changes things a little bit,
Maybe.
but I would still choose the Nuggets in a 6 or 7 game series.
Yeah, I just think it's a terrible matchup for the Clippers. And we saw it last year, and not now. You could argue that the Clippers were the more talented team last year, sure,
No, of course they were.
but it was a terrible matchup. Now the Nuggets have the more talent, and they still have the better matchup. So it's like, well, crap. If you're the
Yeah,
Clippers, the Suns are the weird one, I think, for Denver outside
they
the
have
Lakers.
they have bodies that they can throw defensively at the Nuggets. My only question is with Phoenix is it's youth, right? I mean, yes, you have
Hmm.
guys like Chris Paul there and Jay Crowder there who have been,
To be fair,
well, to
though,
the finals, but
they
Chris isn't,
went 8-0 in the bubble, and that was
right?
every game was a playoff game. So I think they did get some of that experience.
Sure, but it's not the
It's not the
it's
same.
playoff
Yeah.
basketball. I mean, yes, it's higher intensity, but I think youth will be a factor. But I really do think that they have an interesting number of bodies in guys like Torrey Craig, Jay Crowder, Mikal Bridges with his length and athleticism. I think those are three guys. And Chris Paul is, I mean, granted he's not like a great defender, but he's stingy. He's not, he's not a pushover. So I think that's an interesting dynamic that they can throw at some of the
But it's not
Nuggets'
those guys that are concerning me. What's concerning me is DeAndre Ayton, and they go as far as Ayton can take them. And
Really?
I
Oh no.
because
Mm-mm.
I'm not saying that Ayton's the best player. He's the third guy.
Right.
But if they want to beat a team like Dallas or a team like Portland or even Denver or the Clippers, Booker is going to do what Booker does. Chris Paul is going to do what Chris Paul does. But how many times have we talked about this? They're going to be taken out or at least, they're going to be matched by Kawhi and Paul George, Jokic and Jamal, Dame and CJ. They're going to be matched most of the time. KP and Luka as long as Porzingis is healthy and playing well. So they're going to be matched. The problem is they need DeAndre Ayton to be that third guy because he's really talented. He's really good.
He's got all the physical tools.
Right, and he can shoot. His offensive game is he can make plays. The problem is he doesn't do it consistently. He's the guy where that's why I say like Like last year, what did we say about the Nuggets? Well, we know Jokic is going to give us what Jokic does. We know he's going to elevate his game. But they're going to go as far as Jamal takes them, and that's what happened. Jamal got them to the conference finals. Jamal and Jokic. But mainly Jamal because he put up 50, 40, 50, in that series against Utah. He closed those games in 5 and 6 out against the Clippers, or even in game 7 too. He did that. He got them there. Now with the Nuggets, you're saying, okay, well, yeah, they can get to the conference finals on the backs of Jokic and Jamal. We know they can get them there. Now it's about how do they get over the hump and get to the finals. It's MPJ.
Right.
Well, for Phoenix, and it's been Chris Paul's whole career. Like the story of his career is he can get you to the second round, but he needs a second guy to get you to the conference finals. Okay, well, James Harden was that guy. Is Booker James Harden? No. So now I think you need all three of them. He needs it's kind of similar to where he was in LA, where it was like he needs all three of him, Blake Griffin, and DeAndre Jordan to be really good for them to get there and beat those teams. So he's going to have Booker. Great. But that can be matched. And this league is run by just duos everywhere.
Yeah.
So the duos don't necessarily matter. DeAndre Ayton's going to matter a lot.
I think he'll matter more in the second round up. I don't think they necessarily need a consistent Ayton to beat if it's Dallas or Portland. I don't think they'll need that because Portland can't really play defense. So I think Chris Paul and Devin Booker, they're just going to feast on that team. Dallas, I'm not sure what we're going to get from Kristaps. And plus, when you look at the season series, I think Phoenix has kind of dominated that series. Now, granted, it's different in the playoffs because we saw that with the Nuggets versus Portland a couple of years ago. We won that season series, and then we saw how that turned out.
Right.
So that you take that with a grain of salt. But I don't think they'll need Ayton as much in the first round, depending on who they get, or even if it's like a Memphis, if they somehow move up, or San Antonio, whatever.
Well, but let's not forget we've looked at Phoenix's schedule. They have one of the toughest schedules left in the league. They could easily drop to 4.
Yeah,
they could easily drop to 4 because the Nuggets and the Clippers are right on their ass. Like it went from they had a 5-6 game lead on the Clippers. Now it's about I think maybe a 2 game.
There's three losses less. They have the same amount of wins as the Clippers, but they're 3 losses ahead of both.
And I'd rather I see that scares me if they have the losses kind of behind because their schedule is so tough. It's gonna get close by the end of the season. Phoenix, Denver, and the Clippers will be all right there fighting for 2 and 3 because no one's going to want to play the Lakers at 5.
No one wants 4.
No one wants 4. So who's going to get unlucky and get that 4? Unfortunately, Phoenix has the toughest schedule.
Yeah, no one wants the 4 seed. But I think if Phoenix can lock in 2, I think they'll be fine in the first round against who they play. Now it's going to be the second round if they get a Clippers, a Nuggets. If somehow the Lakers shoot back up. That's when I think, okay, now it's all horses on deck. Mm-hmm. Now we need Ayton to be 12 to 15 points, 10 rebounds, few blocks a game. Because Devin Booker, who I think he's taken a step in his game, in his progression, he's more aggressive, it looks like to me. He's just playing completely just balls to the wall.
He's great.
And then Chris Paul, you know what he's going to bring. I mean, that's a future Hall of Famer, one of the greatest point guards ever. So yeah, they're going to need that third guy. I think they'll be able to get by in the first round with that, but second round, that's when you need your horses to come, and especially in the Western Conference Finals, and then of course the finals. So
but the problem is DeAndre Ayton is pretty much he's a baby still. I mean, he's like how MPJ is. Like they're kind of right on that same level, but MPJ's starting to figure it out. DeAndre Ayton is just he's so inconsistent. It's and that's what you're going to get from a 22-year-old. But that's why I said earlier in the year that it's just weird timing that Phoenix, like it made a lot of sense to go out and get Chris Paul if you're Phoenix. But at the same time, I think it's just bad timing. I think you guys are just a little too young. And it's really like by the time they're ready, Chris Paul's not gonna be the same guy. So it's just
Or if he's there.
it's or even there. It's just I think it's unfortunately bad timing.
Well, it's kind of like when the Nuggets got Paul Millsap that first year.
Yes.
Right?
Yeah.
You get a veteran in there who can change the impact and the landscape of your locker room, but the Nuggets are their babies. The year before, they just got bounced in the game versus Minnesota. If they win that, they're in the playoffs as the 8 seed. But they lose that.
Right.
So
similar to Phoenix. They went on an 8-0 run. They were close, but they're babies. They're
It's not the NFL. It's not, one game any given Sunday.
Yeah.
It's ultra rare that you see a streaking hot team win an NBA finals, because eventually talent wins out. It stops becoming about the X's and O's. It becomes about, okay,
it's talent and being in your prime.
Right. I'm playing you 4-5 games in a row now. I know what play you're running.
Yeah.
I know what that set is.
Yep.
Now it's just, are you flat out just better than me, or am I better than you at this point? So I think youth is going to play a factor. That's why I don't think they'll, make a finals run, but I wouldn't be shocked if Phoenix made a Western Conference Finals run. Like I could see a scenario in which they make it
if it
this year
bounces
to
the right way.
final.
Yeah, if it bounces, if matchups bounce the right, but
Sure.
but for Phoenix, it's kind of like how Denver was last year and even the year before, where you're thinking about matchups and not necessarily, well, we're just better than you, so we don't care who we play. I think the Nuggets are kind of at that point where, honestly, it doesn't matter. Like, yeah, we want to avoid the Lakers, but honestly, it might be the best time to hit the Lakers. It might be in the first round.
Sure.
So does it really matter who the Nuggets play right now?
Right. I want to ask you about that too, because I'm curious to see what your opinion on it, because now with Aaron Gordon, now when you see this team, obviously, do I want to play LeBron and the Lakers? No. I don't
They're the most talented team
much.
in the West. The Denver Nuggets are the
Yes,
problem is they don't have LeBron. And that's the thing, right? Because LeBron is, as far as getting to the finals, he's undefeated in the last 10 tries.
He's Thanos.
He's Thanos, right? So but the benefit is that they're having a lot of injury issues. Now they're gonna come back. Now it depends on when, and it depends on timing for them, and how many games will they get. And we know when LeBron comes back, it's not just going to be a slow, when he comes back, he's going to be ready to go. I think AD is more of the slow kind of, let's get him back involved, kind of, get him back to what he was. But even when he was healthy, he wasn't playing very well. So they got a lot of work to do with them. So that's why I'm saying the first round might be the best time to catch the Lakers. Now, yeah. Here's what I'll say. Best case scenario, as for the Nuggets, you catch Phoenix, you take the 2 seed, you have to play Dallas, or one of the play-in teams, and then at 3 goes Phoenix, at 4 goes the Clippers, at 5 goes the Lakers. Now you knock out one of the LA teams. Honestly, wouldn't be shocked if the Clippers beat the Lakers, because the Lakers are trying to figure things out. The Clippers have a lot of motivation here. Right timing, like it's the right place at the right time type of thing for the Clippers. They could knock out the Lakers. So if the Clippers knock out the Lakers in the first round, the Clippers will beat Utah. They'll get to the conference finals. Now, if you're the Nuggets, you're going to have to go through Phoenix, and that's going to be tough. But again, we just talked about it. I think Phoenix is a year or 2 away. So, and right now, Denver seems to have the right time, right place, right time. Now you play the Clippers in conference finals. Well, we just talked about it. Now, not only is it a bad matchup for the Clippers, but you're more talented flat out. You should win that series. You did it last year, coming back from 3-1. You kind of figured things out. You grew up a lot. Well, now you figured out matchups. Excuse me. You have the size in JaVale now to match Ibaka and whatever they can throw out there with size. So that's the as far as getting to the NBA Finals, that's best case scenario path, is getting that 2 seed and forcing the Clippers to play the Lakers. Yeah, but I have a feeling that I have a feeling Phoenix drops the 4. because the Clippers and Nuggets have the issue is that the we looked at the Sun schedule. They haven't hit that gauntlet, right? And they're only a game and a half ahead of the Clippers. They haven't even hit that run yet. The Nuggets are 2.5 games back from the Phoenix Suns. That's it. And like you said, it's not the wins, it's the losses.
Yeah, I think it was huge that they split with Utah and the Clippers, because if they would have came out of that 0-2, they would have been in dangerous territory.
But they're still they haven't hit that run yet. I have a feeling Phoenix are up to 4.
I mean, it's Miami at 13, Tuesday, April 13th. Like, granted, I think I would choose Phoenix to win that one, but that's a game to where
Phoenix is getting hot.
If you're not playing up to par, I mean, Miami could steal a win. Depends on what happens with Victor Oladipo too.
Mm-hmm.
But the stretch that we're talking about is April 19th at Milwaukee, at Philadelphia. Boston, we get it. They're 500, but I mean, Tatum just put up 53 last night. Yeah. So, I mean, that's not a team that you can just completely look over.
And they've won 2 in a row. They might be getting ready.
And then it's at Brooklyn, New York, the Knicks. I mean, granted, it's the Knicks, but I mean, again, they could catch you. I mean, any given, on that type of night, they could catch you on that. And then it's Clippers, Utah again. So
those are all playoff teams.
And then, to finish the year, you have a bout with the Lakers, Golden State. We don't know what they'll be at that time. Portland, and then 2 against San Antonio, who just made it tough on the Nuggets. So, I mean, I don't know if they drop to 4. I do think they carry the 2 seed. I think maybe the Nuggets get to 3, and that's about it.
I don't know. The Clippers have won 4 in a row. They're kind of figuring things out. They're not figuring things out. They're just starting to kind of press on the gas pedal. I think, and so is Denver. I think Phoenix, they hit their hot streak. They're gonna have their tough schedule here, and I think they're gonna fall to 4. Because the Clippers the Clippers and Nuggets made it close enough to where now the Suns, they can't afford to lose half those games in that run. How many games was that? What's that run? How many games is that? 6, 7?
Let's see. Let me go back to their schedule. So that is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. I mean, if you want to include the Knicks in there, you can. I mean, that's a 7-game stretch where it's tough games.
It's a 7 game. Is there any back-to-backs?
And then before that too, I mean, if you want to throw San Antonio, because technically it's San Antonio, Milwaukee, Philly, Boston, Brooklyn, New York, Clippers, Utah.
Let's just say 7.
There is one back-to-back there's 2. So they play Philly on a Wednesday, then the next night they're in Boston, then they play Brooklyn on the 25th, and then the next night
that's an East Coast trip.
Yeah.
Okay, well then, let's say the 8 games they go 4-4. They can't afford that. Because you know what? The Clippers ain't going 4-4 in that 8-game stretch and win at the same time. The Clippers are probably going to go 6-2. The Nuggets, same thing, or 5-3. They're going to catch it. They're going to get a game or 2. The Phoenix Suns cannot afford to go 4-4 in that stretch, but Detroit, they're probably going to have to.
Philly, Minnesota. Oh man, the Clippers really have a cakewalk. They have Detroit, Indiana, Detroit, Philly. That's a tough one.
I have a feeling the Clippers take the 2 seed.
Portland, Memphis, Houston, New Orleans, Phoenix. Then they have us, Toronto, Lakers, Knicks, Toronto, Charlotte, Houston, OKC. So, I mean, they have like 4 out of there.
I think by the end of the season, I mean, we can look back at this by the end of the season, but I think it goes Utah, Clippers, Utah, Clippers, Nuggets, Phoenix, Lakers, Portland. That's your top 6.
That would just be absolute worst case scenario. I mean, listen, nobody wants to play.
Well, that's not
for every team
not for the
outside
Nuggets,
of the Lakers.
For the Suns,
you want the Lakers at 5 or 4, so they're playing. You want Clippers, Lakers at 5.
Yeah, but that's
if
not
you're everybody
happen.
Outside of the LA teams. If you're Clippers and everybody else, you want the Lakers to stay at 5 or 4. You don't want to face them in the first round, right. But it's a race to stay away from the 4 seed if the Lakers 4 or 5, depending on where the Lakers stay, because we still don't know. Even though LeBron put out that tweet of a storm's coming, watch out, wee woo, we still don't know when he's going to come back. He still might miss at least 5 more games. AD is still
Right.
there's no real definite timetable.
I don't think they can catch 3. I think they're just too far out. Even though they're only 3 games back behind the Clippers. By the time they come back, it's gonna take a couple games for them to get going too. So the Lakers will be at 4 or 5 by the end of the season. Who's gonna drop to 5 or to 4 or 5 out of the 3 Phoenix, Clippers, Nuggets? I think the Jazz, they're just too far out. I think they have the 1 seed pretty much locked up unless Phoenix goes on a crazy run and they go 7-1 in those 8 games, which could happen. I mean, I wouldn't put it past them to do so. They're a good team, but there's 2 back-to-backs in that too. So, if Phoenix wants to keep the 2 seed, they have to go 6-2 in that run. 5-3, 5-3 bare minimum.
They got to keep it up. For them, the highest seed possible is best.
Yeah.
The higher the seed they are, the better.
Right. Whereas for the Nuggets and Clippers, if you can avoid 4, great. But if not, it doesn't matter because you're gonna end up running to these guys anyways.
Yeah, you got to face LeBron at some point. You can only run for so long. So, I mean, it's eventually you're gonna have to go through him, and then if you do get through him, all right. Well, now good luck because now it's KD and Harden and Kyrie on the other end, which is just a whole other issue. But it is what it is. I wanted to ask you though before we wrap up today: is there anyone are you scared of the Lakers? 1, and 2, is there anyone in the West that you absolutely fear the most? Is it still the Lakers? Because for me, I don't fear the Lakers as much. Granted, I still don't want to play the Lakers or LeBron. Historically for the Nuggets in the playoffs, playing the Lakers, it just never has ended well. But I think the team that scares me, that worries me, not scares me, but worries me most is honestly probably Phoenix. I think they're just a wild card. They remind me of kind of like a young Nuggets team, just upstart, kind of just overachieving a little, yes, but they're playing with reckless abandon right now. They don't know what they don't know, and they're just playing. They're playing.
Yeah, but that can only get you so far. I'll say this. I think yes. Look, do I fear the Lakers? No. I don't fear the Lakers, but I fear LeBron. And I think those are 2 different things. Yes, LeBron's on the Lakers. I understand that. But I don't fear AD. I don't fear Kyle Kuzma. I don't fear Caldwell Pope. I don't fear Schroeder. I don't fear Andre Drummond. I fear LeBron. There's a reason why he's 10-0 getting to the NBA Finals in the last 10 tries, that he's at least made the playoffs. So, yeah, I fear LeBron. But that's why I say, do I fear the Lakers in the first round? No. Do I fear the Lakers in the conference finals? Yeah. Because if they get to the conference finals, that means they're humming. So I think it's 2 different. That's why I'm saying, look, if you told me the Nuggets have to go through the Lakers, there's no scenario where they will get lucky and someone else will beat the Lakers. So you're telling me if you told me they either play the Nuggets, the Nuggets have to play the Lakers in the conference finals or the first round, but it's going to happen. There's not there's a chance that if you wait till the conference finals that they lose. No, it happens. They get to the conference finals or you play them in the first round. I'll take the first round. That's your best shot. But you know what else you're going up against if you have to play them in the first round? Well, LeBron's never lost in the first round before.
Got to happen sometime.
So you're either saying he's 10-0 in the last 10 tries to get into the NBA Finals if you have to play him in the conference finals, or he's never lost in the first round. But if it has to happen, I'm going to take my chances in the first round. Any other team, honestly, look, I don't want to. I like Phoenix. I do. I like them a hell lot more than Utah. I'll say that. But I'd rather play Phoenix than the Clippers.
It just feels so fluky.
Yeah,
They
poor
just
Utah,
feel
man. I just not even poor. I don't give a crap about Utah,
they're
but
good.
they're
They
good.
just feel so fluky.
It's the biggest fluke since the Nuggets won 57 games and lost to Golden State. Um, I fear the Lakers, the Clippers, the Blazers more than Phoenix.
Really, the Blazers?
The
They can't
Blaze,
play.
look,
Man.
look,
They're gonna be a first round out
look.
this year.
Portland.
And that's the team I chose to go to the Western Conference Finals this year.
I get it, but Portland is just a weird against the Nuggets. Without Gary Harris, it concerns me. That's the problem.
That's why we signed Shaq Harrison.
Yeah, right.
To guard him. Dame time stops now.
Gary Harris, like if you ask Dame, I'm sure the top 5 guys that he does not like to play against, Gary Harris is one of them. He just bothers the hell out of them.
I mean, nobody, and that's the thing about the West too. Like, there's no one. I mean, besides like San Antonio and Memphis, if you had your choice, like of course you choose one of those two teams.
It's not just Dame and CJ. It's the way they play. It's the 3-point shooting, and we know Denver for some reason they like to give up wide open threes, and just teams just light them up from 3. They got a bunch of guys, and you know how there's always that one guy that just beats the crap out of Denver, and it's never the star. It's Rodney Hood or it's Jordan Clarkson or Lou Williams. Like it's just those guys. Well,
Lou Williams.
Look,
I get what you're saying, yes.
Portland has like 3 of those guys.
This year it'll be Derek Jones.
Like it's just they have so many of those guys that just bothers Denver. I think that's the one team where you say, well, the Nuggets don't necessarily they're more talented, yes, way more talented. But matchup wise, that's the one team where it's like, oh, it's not the best matchup for Denver.
Sure. I mean, I get what you're saying.
Out of the 7 teams, that's the worst matchup.
Portland?
Yes.
Oh, I think the Nuggets would beat them in 5. I really do.
I disagree.
I'm not saying that they would pick them around for 5 games. I think listen, it's the Nuggets here. They like to fans heart attacks. So they'll be up 20 at halftime, and then it'll be a 1-point game, possibly going into overtime.
But I don't want to play Dame when 5 minutes to go and it's a close game. I don't.
But then again, Portland has to guard us. That's the thing.
That's true.
We talk about all the players that you have to talk about with the Nuggets and try and guard. Who's stopping any of those guys?
Yeah.
There's nobody. I mean, Robert Covington is good defender, but I mean, all right, MPJ. Okay, good luck, Damian, CJ, Derek Jones, Cantor.
And I get that, but it's just it's a weird matchup to me, because you got Cantor and you got Nurkic too.
It's because it's Dame.
It's Dame, but it's also Nurkic and Cantor scare me a little bit because they got bigs. Now JaVale McGee does help, but defending, I feel like Portland's always done a pretty good job against Jokic. Not now, look, they don't stop him, and Jokic still gets his numbers, but
pretty good job. He's averaging 29.
Right, but like it's not like the Clippers where Jokic just goes out there and puts up 40 on them, and the Clippers don't have an answer. Like Portland has guys that they can throw at Jokic, and they have. Yeah, I think so.
Who?
Cantor and Nurkic.
Okay. If you throw Cantor at Jokic, you might as well throw Swiss cheese at him.
Look, Cantor bothered him in 2 years ago. Now, it was 2 years ago, and this is a different Jokic, and I get that. But they bothered him. Historically, it's just Portland is just one of those teams. Now, there was a couple times I think this year where Denver kicked their teeth in. And I tweeted out early on in the season where I was like, well, Portland's not necessarily that team that matches up well against Denver anymore. But I think out of all the 7 teams, and like I said, for the Nuggets, I don't think it's matchup based anymore. But but if you do look at matchups, that's the one where it's like, well, I'd prefer to avoid them because matchup wise, they got guys that we tend to struggle against. But in a 7-game series, yes, I would pick Denver to beat them. But it's just in the first round, I'd rather not see Portland because I don't want to deal with having a 7-game series with the Nuggets in the first and second round, and then getting to the conference finals, having to play the Lakers, and you're dead ass tired. Don't want to do that again.
Go to a 7-game series with this Blazers team, that's a travesty. Something went completely wrong. There's no way. And the Nuggets have only played the Blazers once this year. They'll play them the final 2 times, once on April 21st and then the last game of the season. So that's fun. We get Damian Lillard on the last game of the season. Can't wait for that. But
see, that's what I'm saying. It's just
you just fear Damian Lillard. That's it. And CJ.
No, but see,
that's it.
Here's the thing. The Nuggets know how to play. They know how to play against Dame, but CJ was the guy that torched them.
Thank you, Eloy. Hope I'm saying your name right.
Portland is good. Stop it.
They're good. They're like, they're good. It's kind of like, yeah, I like vanilla ice cream.
They've had
they've had
a lot of injuries this year, which is them every year. But if they're healthy, if they're fully healthy, let's not forget Portland beat them. Yes, they beat them in 7, but Portland beat the Nuggets 2 years ago. And the Nuggets should have won that series. They were better.
They should have won that one too.
They were better. But it comes, and I get it. It was the baby Nuggets, and we talked about it with Phoenix. I think that's the one team where I'm like, I'd prefer just not. Do I think they'll beat them? Yes, of course. But I think that's the one team that I'm.
Sounds like
I would say I'd prefer not to play Portland. I'd rather play Dallas.
I'd rather play Portland than Dallas. See, I'm complete opposite of you than that. Now, I'm not. Dallas is that interesting team because they seem to have the Nuggets number. Now, I think with Aaron Gordon that changes everything. So I'm not as fearful of Dallas.
With JaVale, the whole Boban thing scared the hell out of me. But now with JaVale, it doesn't. It's a little different. And I think with KP, I don't know how well he's been playing. Luka is playing really well, but like we talked about, like the other guys, like their shooters just aren't having that season, like they did last year. Like it was like the perfect storm with them last year. They don't
Utah
really.
Took they're shooting like Dallas did last year.
Yeah, they don't have Seth Curry anymore. Like it's just that's a different team. I don't know. I would say it's different. I think Portland has more of those shooters now, like Dallas.
I'd rather play Portland than Dallas, but I'd still think I think the Nuggets would beat Dallas in 5, maybe 6. I think they'd beat Portland in 5. That's just
they should beat those teams in 4 or 5.
Well, yeah,
but we're talking about the Nuggets.
So. Like they're like, yes, we could do this easy, but we'd like to nearly kill everybody that watches us, including Michael Malone. That's why he said he sleeps 2 hours like a baby, and then he wakes up and cries like me.
The Nuggets this is what the Nuggets are thinking. You know what? We went down 3-1 last year. Let's see if we can get down 0-3 and come back.
My heart cannot survive another comeback. I cannot. I'm telling you, I swear I died for a second in that Utah final season. I swear I did. Because when Mike Conley shot that ball, I did not feel my heart beat. Yeah. I was like, this is it. And then when he missed it, I just collapsed and I was just like, so yeah, I don't want to see anything like that. Fully healthy Lakers squad.
I see that. I don't want to think like that with this Nuggets team, because what have the Nuggets done? They haven't done anything, and I don't want to get to this point where, like, we're expecting, like, it's Western Conference Finals or bust, or Finals or bust if the Lakers lose in the first round. I don't want to get to that point because in my mind, I do still think age-wise they're still about a year or two away. So. And we don't know how MPJ is going to react in the playoffs. We just don't.
I don't think it should be finals or bust. I think that's unfair. And maybe even Western Conference Finals or bust is unfair. But I think, again, it depends about the context. It depends on who they get in the second round, too. Like it needs to be a tough series. If you're getting booted in the second round, it better have been like a hard-fought 6 or 7 games in that, that team was just better than you.
Yeah.
Now, it better be an LA team because I think if they lose to anybody other than the 2 LA teams and Lakers, that's a disappointment.
Yeah. Like if they lose to the Clippers, I honestly would be a little disappointed. But you also got to kind of factor in the Clippers will probably be very motivated in that series. Just just a little bit. They're not happy about that. So, I think that would I be shocked? Like, would I be surprised if the Clippers beat the Nuggets? No. Would I be surprised if the Lakers beat the Nuggets? No. Would I be surprised if Phoenix beat the Nuggets? A little bit, yeah. And I think you can go down the list. Would I be surprised if Utah beat the Nuggets? Hell yeah. I'd be shocked. If would I be surprised if Portland or Dallas beat the Nuggets? Absolutely.
How bad do you think Utah wants to play the Nuggets again?
I don't think. If you're a Utah fan. If you're a Utah fan, I think you're asking the NBA if you can get a bye series in the first and second series, so you at least have a chance in the conference finals, or at least get to play in the conference finals. They ain't getting to the conference finals. If the only way Utah gets to the conference finals is if they have to play Dallas and Portland in the first and second round.
Yeah, I don't know how
or Memphis and Dallas in the second round. Or Memphis and San Antonio. That's
possible?
No, that's what I'm saying. It's not possible for them to get to the conference finals. They ain't getting to the conference finals. Unless LA wins in the first round and LeBron gets hurt.
Man, that's going to be a really sad day when Utah gets bounced in the second round.
If they have to, they're going to play the Lakers in the second round. They will get swept, or they lose. They will lose in 4 or 5.
That's going to be so rough.
It's going to be embarrassing.
Relentless.
You know what it's like? Remember when the Cavs, the year they won it, I believe, they were a 4 seed, or no, it was the year after Kyrie, or the year Kyrie left. They were a 4 seed, and they barely beat Chicago in the first round. Right? It was like a 6-7 tough series. Then
Is that the one where Derrick Rose hit that shot?
Yeah.
And he became a meme.
Yeah,
Okay.
and then so it was a tough series. And it was like, ooh, I don't know if the Cavs can get to the finals. And then they played Atlanta as this the number 1 seed, won all these games, and I'm pretty sure they swept Atlanta.
Yeah.
It's going to be that. That's what it's going to be like. It's going to be a tough 6-7 game series against whoever they play in the first round. They could lose. You never know. But if they do win, it's going to be an easy it'll be like, okay, whew, got a break. Now we got to get ready for the conference finals here. That's what it's going to be like.
So it's going to be rough.
Honestly,
man.
part of me hopes that maybe the Lakers will leapfrog the Nuggets and the Clippers, or the Suns. Then Denver has to play the Suns in the as a 5th or the 4th and 5th seed, and then you beat the Suns hopefully, and then now you got Utah. Great, let's get a 5 game series done, in and out, and let's go play one of the LA teams. I wouldn't mind that.
I think Utah really wants Nuggets.
You know what? Phoenix, Denver, start losing. Let's go. Let's get into 4 or 5. Let's get the 4 or 5. Let's play. Winner gets an easy series in the second round.
I don't want that though.
No, I'll take that. Give me that. Winner gets an easy second round series.
Nothing would bring you joy more than the Nuggets matching up with Utah.
Oh, I'd love it. If that was the conference finals, oh my God. That would be amazing. I will make every single bet with any Utah fan that wants to make a bet. Let's go. I would love it. Let Utah, let's get to the conference finals.
Your hatred for Utah knows no bounds. It's hilarious to me. But yeah, it's going to be really tragic for them when they get bounced in the second round. Like, that's not to say that they're not a good team. They are a good basketball team, and we keep reiterating that each week. But we've seen this team before. You know why? Because it's been the Nuggets before.
And every Utah fan is saying, well, we lost to you in 7. We didn't have Bogdanovich, or who did they? Yeah, Bogdanovich. Whoop-de-doo. Congrats.
Yeah.
It's like, that series last year to Utah probably felt like what it was like as a Nuggets losing to Golden State that year. It's like this young, really talented team, and you had them, or like you felt like you could beat them, and all of a sudden, just Steph hits a 3 and looks away before it even goes in. And, and for them is Jamal going for 50 in back-to-back games. And you're just like, what the hell? It's kind of like that for them. That was Utah. But no, I can't wait to watch Utah barely beat whoever they play in the 8th seed and then get swept in the second round by whoever they play.
They'll beat Memphis or San Antonio or whoever it is in
I
5.
hope they have to play Golden State. You know how funny it will be if Golden State gets that 8 seed and Utah's like, crap. Because Steph is out there shooting 80% from 3. No, I think Utah would beat Golden State, but it ain't going to be easy.
No. Well, anytime you have to face that guy, it's not easy. Like I would never want to see Steph. I would never wish to play Steph. And that's what I'm saying. Like, as a basketball fan, that's why it really does suck that Clay got hurt.
Yeah.
Because where would Golden State be in the mix of all this?
Well,
right?
I think there wouldn't be a question as far as who your playoff teams are. You know, like I don't think it would be Golden State solidified in the playoffs. Like they'd be right there with Dallas or Portland, if not with the upper teams. It would be a lot closer. Like there wouldn't be a gap. There wouldn't be a gap. You would know what the 8 teams were going into the season easily.
Imagine how fun that playoffs is going to be next year. Obviously, barring injuries and any significant changes to rosters. But I mean, both LA teams. Golden State.
No, you know what I'll say though. I don't think Kawhi will be back with the Clippers next year. And you know what? I heard there's talks of him maybe wanting to go to Miami, play with Jimmy Butler.
Ugh, why?
It's Miami.
Oh, sure.
And by the way, Jimmy Butler's played great this year.
On the beach. Robots can't get near water. They'll malfunction.
I think he's what do you mean he's in LA?
Yeah, but he probably doesn't go to the beach. What does Kawhi Leonard do for fun though? Like what do you think Kawhi does on his off days? Does he just stare at his wall? Does he oil up the joints? I mean, what's a Kawhi Leonard fun day look like? Kawhi Leonard probably eats like green beans for breakfast. Nobody likes green beans. just emotionless, lacking flavor vegetable. He probably likes broccoli too.
No idea.
Broccoli's gross.
No idea. But hey, look, the Clippers, their best player next year could be Pandemic P, and that's going to be hilarious.
Well, I did see though that there was the rumor that he's considering already re-signing with the Clippers. But say if we do get that, right? That if he stays, I mean, that would be a fun playoffs just from an NBA fan perspective. Yeah. You know, you get the 2 LA teams, you get Golden State, Utah we would presume would be back, Portland, Dallas, Denver, Phoenix. I mean, yeesh. That is just murderer's row.
Yeah.
And then you have the East over there, and it's freaking Weenie Hut Jr. and you have like the Hornets that are like, hi, we're 26-84 as the 7th seed. Welcome. You know, and then Washington that's -30 and 112 as your 5th seed, and they're just all hanging. I just hate that.
Yeah, if the Knicks make the playoffs, you know they're gonna be celebrating like they just won the finals.
It's so bad. The NBA really has to reconsider this because you have so many good teams.
No, did you see who the Nuggets would have to play in those mock-ups?
Yeah, well, we did it last podcast, didn't we? Had to play.
Well, yeah, but someone, I think it was, I forget who tweeted out the other day, but there was 2 different options. If there was play-in or if there wasn't. And if there was a play-in, then the Nuggets would have to play the Lakers in the first round. And if there wasn't a play-in, they'd have to play the Brooklyn Nets.
Right.
So it's like, well, that's not fun.
Right. Well, if you're let's see, where's 16 at?
Honestly, I'd rather just be in the West at that point.
6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16. So the Jazz would get the Knicks, Phoenix would get Boston, Miami would get Brooklyn, thank God. Memphis would get Philly, Atlanta would get the Clippers. We get the Hornets. Yeah. Yeah. Let's go. I'm down. You know who would get the Lakers this time is Portland. Good luck. Have fun.
That's funny.
Dallas would get Milwaukee. Have fun. So they really need to consider making it a 1 through 16. Because would I rather watch the Charlotte frickin' Hornets or Zion, all 378 pounds of him, bowling through people in the playoffs? Like, I'd rather see Zion. then I don't need. I mean, Devontae Graham is a nice young player.
Well,
Outside of that, I couldn't name you.
even
Bridge-
New Orleans wouldn't make the playoffs in this scenario.
Oh, they wouldn't. Well, that's awkward.
Well, you just said Charlotte. What do you mean?
No, but I'm saying. But you get what I mean, right? Like, I'd rather watch one of these Western Conference teams, like a cellar-dwelling New
Well,
Orleans.
but no. But here's what I'll say though. It's still 8 each. Count it.
Shut up! I'm trying to make a point. Oh, nice. Go home. God. Is there anything else you have to say? You know what I'm trying to say here.
Oh,
I'd rather watch good Western Conference
I'll
teams
take.
than East teams. The end.
I was like, what are you talking about? There's 8 teams in each conference if this scenario
No
happens.
one wants to watch Michael Jordan's terrible team in the playoffs. Nobody wants that.
The last thing I'll say, because yeah, we went long here. The last thing I'll say is, whenever you want to send me that $10 gift card to Crumble, I'm ready.
Had to bring that up, didn't you? What are they at now? Man, please start losing.
They have to. I think they might have to have a losing record for that to happen.
Oh, what's
The
the
rest of the
schedule
way.
like? They're at 34. What did I?
Hold on, let me bring out my calculator.
Their schedule. What did I say that they had to go?
So there's 72 games, right?
If the Nuggets win 43 or less, I get Crumble. If the Nuggets win 44 or more, you get Crumble.
And there's 20 games left, and they've won 34.
So I'm gonna need them to really like.
They gotta go. They gotta go 9-11.
40 is my magic number. They cannot get past 40. Hold the door.
Wait. You because I win if they win 44, right?
Anything over 40 says yes. 44 or more is you. 43 and less is me.
So no, seriously. Then for you to win, they have to go 9-11.
That's what I'm gonna need. I'm gonna need Boston to kick our face in tomorrow. I'm gonna need I'm gonna need Steph to have the greatest game he's ever had against the Nuggets. I'm gonna need Houston. How many bad Eastern Conference teams do we play? We only play Toronto and Detroit and Charlotte. Yes, New York. Yes, and all of them. I'm gonna need them all to put their powers together and link up for one common mission, and that's to win me Crumble. That's what I.
The fact that it went from what it was to where I was pretty like, yeah, I might as well just give it to you now, to they have to have a losing record the rest of the way for you to even win.
Yeah.
That's got to be pretty depressing for you.
It is depressing. There's an internal war going on inside of me that I don't like. But it's fine. If you know what, if I have like $60 in Crumble gift cards. If I have to give 10, that's okay. I've already got enough to last 3 lifetimes of diabetes. All right. Well, that's going to do it for us today. We thank you guys for tuning in. Shout out to everybody in the chat. There was one point we were like pushing 15, 16 viewers. That never happens. Hi, guys. Welcome.
They're all gone. What are you talking about?
Yeah, they're all gone now. But thanks for you guys that have stayed. Eloy, I don't. Have we had Eloy in before? I don't know if we have. But shout out to you.
Eloy,
Milan
are you
came in for a hot minute
Hold
again?
on. So look, where's everyone from? Is everyone from Denver, or is other people from other?
I don't know.
Places.
Atmospheric atmosphere. I like that. I don't think we've ever had that person in. Shout out. But yeah, all the people that watched today, thanks for coming to hang out with us. We do this every Saturday. We're normally late, but
well, next Saturday we won't be able to.
What's next Saturday?
I'll let you know.
Oh boy. I was like, wait, do I have a plan next Saturday?
But unfortunately, we won't be able to next Saturday.
Did they move Saturdays? All right. Well, maybe not Saturday of next week. So, although I do work Saturday of next week, now that you remind me.
Oh, well, then there you go.
So, yeah. So maybe Sunday of next week.
Sunday, yeah.
Yes. All right. Well, that'll do it for us today. We thank you guys for tuning in. For Brandon Stoll on the other side, I am Stephen Priest Jr. This has been the Behind the Glass Sports Podcast.
Wow, you did that really fast.